Welcome to the Tuesday show that turns into the Wednesday show, but today we have 4 stories to you, 2 of which have to do with PlayStation and them canceling some live service games, and also are games going up in price? Before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. If you watch the video all the way through, let me know in the comment section below. Let's get into it. So I hate the fact that game prices have gone up. If anything, companies have been telling us for the longest time that eventually games would get cheaper, but it seems the sentiment now is that $70 for a game is probably too little, especially for a game like Grand Theft Auto. And IGN reports GTA 6 price. Many in the video game industry hope for an $80, if not $100, analysts say. GTA 6 would be the cheapest GTA game ever released. There is hope among some within the video game industry that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be priced between $100 to $80, one analyst said. In a wide-ranging presentation on the state of gaming in 2025, CEO Matthew Ball said Rockstar guaranteed mega hit could reestablish packed video game prices after decades of deflation, despite GTA 6 due out in the fall of 2025 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Is a long-awaited follow-up to 2013's record-breaking GTA 5. Analysts have projected it will make an eye-watering $3 billion in the first year on sale, with $1 billion in pre-orders before it even launches. It seems likely GTA 6 will be the biggest entertainment launch in history, with revenue ahead of any film. But how much will GTA 6 cost the gamers? Most AAA video games cost $70 as a standard after a $10 price hike that kicked into the current generation of consoles in 2020. Could Rockstar and parent company Take-Two use GTA 6 as an opportunity to go higher 5 years later? In report, Ball reported that some game makers hope GTA 6 will be priced at $80 to $100, breaking the $70 barrier and helping $50 titles to move up to $60 to do 70 to do 80, etc. While this price hike would certainly raise eyebrows with the video game audience, Ball argued that a $70 GTA 6 would be the cheapest GTA ever released in terms, that is, when we're taking inflation into account. In real terms, 91 would be the average, Ball said. Packaged game prices have never been lower in terms than they are today, even through budgets are all-time high and player growth is stalled. Ball said in the report GTA 6 could re-establish packed video game prices after decades of deflation despite rampant cost growth. Look, man, I've been saying this for a while, and I think a lot of other developers have been saying it for a while. There is a sickness when it comes to these corporations. Like, the fact that they take so much money from us. Like, yes, costs are at an all-time high, but also at the fact that games literally are coming out not finished, not done, not completed. Like, granted, would $90 for GTA, for the new GTA be worth it? More than likely, yes. It's probably one of the few games that is worth $91. Like, because of the fact that when GTA 6 launches, we know that it's going to be mostly completed. There's going to be a couple of glitches here and there that they fix with a patch or whatever, but most game companies don't earn that. I am so sorry, game industry. Like, you are not Rockstar Games. Like, you're not Naughty Dog. You're not Santa Monica Games. You're not like these companies that release Game of the Year games, Game of the Year contenders on a yearly or on a gen basis. Like, every generation, Rockstar is going to be competing for Game of the Year. Like, you know what I mean? And it's going to be finished. Hideo Kojima's game is going to be doing something narratively that we've never seen before, and it's going to be relatively complete a game with very few glitches. Naughty Dog Games is going to be competing for Game of the Year and has relatively good gameplay and little to no glitches. Like, those, like Red Dead Redemption, when it came out, was pretty much a completed game. It has some glitches and some exploits in it that they fixed, but to make it seem like the gaming industry has earned any kind of charity to try to say that we need to raise video games from $70 to $90, like, I'm sorry, but kiss my burned ass. Like, for reals, bro, like, don't don't start with me. There's been games that have been coming out that are indie that have been doing more than AAA games with AAA budgets. Like, don't give me this. Like, for reals, bro. Like, this story, I think, should have been my main story because this really pisses me off. Like, would Rockstar be okay? Would it be okay for Rockstar to release GTA 6 and charge $90 for it? Not really. Like, it wouldn't be okay because, like, why would you do that? Why would you set that standard? Would it be worth the $91? Absolutely. It absolutely would, because the game's gonna be good and you know it's gonna be good. Like, I know that GTA 6 is gonna be good. Like, most of that is the expectation from Rockstar games that we have right now. And most of the game industry has not earned that. EA has not earned that. Ubisoft has not earned that. Like, NBA 2K used to be one of the best games that you could buy in terms of like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be really good. Like, they even ruined that too. Like, it's like, there's a few studios out there that that earn the right to say, yeah, you know what, if we wanted to pay $90, it would be worth it. Like, you're getting a steal. Most of the game industry does not have that. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with any of what they're saying on here. Like, I don't think that the gaming industry has any say so or any like validity to try to say, oh, we need more money because these games cost more and like we're delivering like more to the user. And I'm like, no, they're really not. Most of this generation has really been a letdown in terms of tech and in terms of like trying to release a non-broken game. Like, to be real, there's been a lot of good games, but in terms of like fulfilling that ultimate package of the Rockstar standard or a Naughty Dog standard or Santa Monica standard or like a standard like Lorraine Games like with Baldur's Gate 3, like, no, like, you just haven't. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, what do you think about this? Do you think $90 are justified? Let me know what you think below. And speaking about gaming companies not living up to the standard, Genshin Impact developer agrees to a $20 million fine over loot box violation. The FTC alleged unfair practices. Genshin Impact publisher Hyoverse has agreed to settlement with the United States Federal Trade Commission, where it agrees to pay a $20 fine and be banned from selling loot boxes to teenagers under the age of 16. In a press release by the FTC, the agency announced that the makers of Genshin Impact has agreed to pay $20 million and to block children under 16 making in-game purchases without parental consent. As a part of a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC director of the Bureau of Commission Protection, Samuel Levine, said that Genshin Impact deceived children, teens, and other players into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes they stood little chance of winning. Levine added that companies that utilize these dark pattern tactics will be held accountable if they deceive players, especially young children and teens. The main charges against Hyoverse by the FTC is that the alleged developer violated the children's online privacy protection rule by marketing Genshin Impact to children and collected their personal information, as well as deceived players about odds of winning, 5-star loot box prizes, and how much it would cost to open the loot box in the first place. The FTC claims the virtual currency system in Genshin Impact were confusing and unfair, and ultimately the system obscures the fact that players will ultimately spend large amounts of money to obtain 5-star prizes, and that children have spent hundreds to thousands of dollars to win them. Alongside the fine and ban of Hyoverse will be required to disclose loot boxes, odds, and exchange rates for its virtual currency, delete personal information collected from children under the age of 13, and comply with COPPA rules going forward. In a statement, Colin Spears said, animation-style games and shows are well received by a global audience and players across various ages. Genshin Impact is a popular free-to-play anime-style game based for older teens and adults. While we believe many of FTC allegations are inaccurate, we agree to the settlement because we value the trust of our community and share a commitment to transparency for our players. Under the agreement, we introduce a new gate and parental consent protections for children, young teens, and increase our in-game disclosures about virtual currency and reward for players in the US and in the coming months. So yeah, this is like, I personally have played Genshin Impact, and I can tell you that, yeah, it's one of those gacha games that really does try to suck you in and also like kind of take advantage, to be honest with you. It's kind of scummy. I think a lot of Genshin Impact players know that that this game is a very big scummy gacha game, but like everybody loves it because it's fun. It's a beautiful looking game. The music's awesome. Everything about it is really good except for Panya, whatever her name is. I forgot. Pyro. I forgot her name. The little fucking fairy bitch that's annoying in the game. But yeah, like it is pretty bad. Like whether they disagree or agree that they were doing this, and it is scummy. It is kind of bad that they did stuff like this. So like yeah, like it's really bad that the game industry has come to this like kind of area to where like everything is kind of like a ripoff. Like I said, they want to charge $90 games, but then they do stuff like this. Like, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think that they were doing something bad? Do you think that they're right, that maybe it's overblown and the allegations are inaccurate? Let me know what you think in the comments below. PlayStation cancels 2 unannounced live service games, including a live service God of War game. Sony has reportedly canceled 2 unannounced live service games that were in development at Advent Studio and Bluepoint Games respectively. Bloomberg reports that Sony has ended production on 2 live service games that were in the works at Advent Studio, best known for the zombie game Days Gone, and another separate game in the works at Bluepoint Games, best known for the remasters of games like Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remakes. The Bluepoint game was reportedly a live service God of War game, according to Jason Schreidinger. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the cancellations to Bloomberg. Sony also added that neither studios will be closed and they will work with them to determine what are the next projects from the next 2 studios will be. So yeah, it's not only these games were canceled, but also Horizon Forbidden West is also canceled as well. The MMO that they were making, they were making an MMO with Horizon IP. It is stated that the multiplayer game that Horizon developers, Guerrilla Games, is still like in the works and it's still being made. But yeah, this is 3 more live service games that they've canceled. And like yeah, they also had a rumor kind of like a tech demo for a Spider-Man Online, which was never really greenlit but was more of an idea that they had, but that one's also canceled as well. It's kind of dumb that Sony took there's studios that are not known for making online games and they're like, hey, can you try to make us an online game, and then really kind of like be surprised that they don't really want to do that. And like when you look at the development of the games that they were making, they weren't that good. They didn't pass the sniff test. They didn't pass the above Concord level test. They didn't pass to get to even Helldivers. Helldivers is a good game because of the fact that yeah, it kind of has the DNA of a live service game. So that company started as a live service game. The last Helldivers is still going, and it made sense for them to take the next step in a giant evolution of game. But like the fact that Sony thought that this was a good idea is insane. It's one of the most insane things that PlayStation has ever done, and it's kind of messed up that Yoshida, who was the president of the first party PlayStation and all that stuff, they kind of like outed him in order to make this go through. And like he even commented on Kind of Funny Games that more than likely the reason why he was like demoted from his job was because he would have pushed back on like not doing this. And to be honest with you, they made a lot of their first party game developers not happy with him doing this, one of them being Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog did not like it at all that they were being made to make a live service game, because that's not what they do. What they do is linear story driven games. I'm hearing that the next game is going to be a lot less linear, but still most of the things that they do is story driven games with deep characters and good gameplay and cinematic games, if you would say, the PlayStation type game. What's next for PlayStation Studio? Last week, Sony canceled 2 unannounced live service games that were developed at Ben Studios and Bluepoint Games. The Bluepoint game was reportedly a live service God of War game, according to Bloomberg. Jason Schreier. Ben Studios' live service games remains unknown. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the cancellations to Bloomberg, adding that neither studio will be closed and it will work with each other to determine the next project. Sony's live service push has struggled significantly, while Arrowhead's Helldivers 2 was a breakout hit, becoming the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time with 12 million copies sold in just 12 weeks. Sony's other live service games were either cancelled or suffered disastrous launches. Indeed, Sony's Concord is one of the biggest video game disasters in PlayStation history, not only PlayStation history but of gaming history, lasting just a couple of weeks before it was brought offline amid drastic low player numbers. Sony later decided to kill the game entirely and shut its developer. The Concord flop came after Sony had already cancelled Naughty Dog's The Last of Us multiplayer game. Last week, former PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida said he would have tried to resist Sony's controversial live service video game push, where he is in the position of current Sony Interactive Studio Business Group CEO Herman Hulst. And he kind of joked around and said, yeah, that's probably why they demoted me. And it's probably why they kind of got rid of a lot of the old people that were there at PlayStation, because a lot of the people there at PlayStation know the formula of what to do with their studios. Let your studios do what they're best at doing. And if they want to try something new, let them try something new. And give them a couple of shots to do so, and if they don't, then you close them down and you don't really give them another shot or fund them anymore and just kind of relocate that talent. That's what PlayStation has been doing for the longest time, and it worked for them. It worked really well. I would say that Gran Turismo right now is one of the live service games that is doing really well and it's doing really good, and it makes sense that Gran Turismo is a live service game. It makes sense that it's doing really well. It had it in its DNA. It kind of was prepped and ready to be a live service game. It kind of always had that DNA. But the fact that they did this and thought that it was going to be a good idea is kind of insane. It's like I said, it's not any coincidence that Helldivers 2 is a breakout hit and that it's one of their few live service games that works. Is because that developer wanted to make that. The most important thing that you want is your developers to want and to be passionate about that project, but also on top of that, it was in their DNA to make that type of game in the first place. So trying to make first party games and make games that they're not used to is not a good idea. And so as far as what these studios are going to do, in recent financial calls, Sony president, CEO, and CFO Hideki Toki said that the company had learned lessons from both the record-breaking launch of Helldivers 2 earlier this year and Concord's failure. On Concord specifically, Toki said Sony should have run its development gates such as a user testing or internal evaluation much earlier than we did. Yeah, no kidding, my guy, because if Yoshida were there, this wouldn't have happened, and you just lost that guy. Unfortunately, he's retired from Sony. He's going to be doing other things, but yeah, apparently we are still in the process of learning, Togi admitted. Basically, with regards to the new IP, of course you don't know the result until you actually try it. So for our reflection, probably we need to have a lot of gates, including user testing or internal evaluation, and the timing of such gates. We need to bring them forward. We should have done those gates earlier than we did. The suggestion here from Toki was that Sony should have noticed and reacted to the Concord issues earlier in the development process, presumably so that it could have improved the game before launch or canceled it. Toki then went on to point fingers at Sony's siloed organization and Concord's release window, which may have caused cannibalization. Concord launched in August, not after Smash Hit, Black Myth Wukong hit on PlayStation 5 and on PC. We have siloed organizations, so going beyond the boundaries of those organizations in terms of development and also sales. I think that could have been much smoother, Toki said. And then going forward in our own titles and in third-party titles, we have many different windows, and we want to be able to select the right amount of optimal window so that we can deploy them in our own platform without cannibalization, so that we can maximize our performance in terms of launches. During the Some Financial Call, Sony Vice President for Finance and IR compared the launches of Helldiver and Concord, saying lessons are learned would be shared throughout its business. We launched 2 live service games this year. Helldivers was a huge hit, while Concord ended up being shut down. We gained a lot of experience and learned a lot from both. We tend to share these lessons from our failures across our studios, including in the area of development management, as well as a process of continually adding expanding content and scaling the service after its release, so it strengthens our development management system. We intend to build the optimum title portfolio during the current mid-range plan period that combines single-player games, which are our strengths and which have higher predictability of becoming hits due to our proven IP, with live service games that pursue upside while taking on a certain amount of risk upon release. Looking at the future members of live service games remain in the works, including Bungie's Marathon, Guerrilla Games, Horizon Online, and Haven Studios' Fair Games. So look, this was a really bad choice by PlayStation. Bluepoint Games says that it will continue still to make games that it loves, and the only problem that I see here is that this wasn't the only thing that Bluepoint was working on. They were working on other unannounced game that I hope that this live service game didn't take all the time away from that, because if they're just starting development on that game and they shifted focus on that game, if the Days Gone developer are Ben Studios are just now focusing to something like Days Gone 2, you can kiss goodbye of seeing anything from these guys this generation, because it's already said that PlayStation 6 is more than likely going to come out in holiday 2027. So like, you can kiss that goodbye. That's done with. You're done. Like, they're not going to release anything before then, and more than likely it'll be cross-gen from PlayStation 5 to PlayStation 6. So like I don't know what to say here. Like, it's very disappointing that PlayStation did this. Bluepoint Big Games could have made a remake of Bloodborne at this point. They could have made a game of Castlevania if they would have tried to work with IP with Konami. They could have made a remake of Metal Gear Solid. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, this is like one of the biggest fumbles that PlayStation has ever done. And to be fair, like, they're still doing good. They're still going to release a lot of good games in 2025. But the fact that we're not going to get anything from Ben Studios, the fact that we're probably not going to get anything from Ben. Ben could have been working on Days Gone 2, but for some reason they hated that game, even though it sold like almost as well as the first Horizon, and that one got a sequel, and the second one didn't do all that well, and that one's still gonna get a sequel eventually. But yeah, like I'm actually quite surprised that that PlayStation did this. Like, I should have seen the writing on the wall when it came to this, because of the fact that they were kind of getting rid of all the people that were there before, that made PlayStation to what it is today, a single player centric platform that sometimes played around with multiplayer. Like the Uncharted games had really good multiplayer. So like, it kind of made sense for Naughty Dog to try to make like a live service game. Like The Last of Us multiplayer was really good, and we were just wanting something a little better than that. I guess Sony wanted to just kind of throw everything they had into it and kind of make this possible, like make this a game they could make money off of. And and it kind of came and bit them in the ass, and unfortunately it's going to take a lot of development time from these studios. I don't think that we see any games from these two studios until at the very end of this generation. More than likely it's going to be a cross-generation game. And so let me know what you think in the comment section about this. It's really annoying that this happened. It's probably one of the most disappointing stories that I had to read, because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of looking forward to what Bluepoint was making. That was one of my most anticipated studios because of what they did with Demon's Souls and because of what they did with Shadow of the Colossus remake. And so like, for them to now more than likely not like be making anything this generation is sad. It's a waste of time, and I hope PlayStation learns from this. But for what I'm reading, they're still gonna go forward with live service games. They're just gonna have a lot more gates to like try, because from what I know about Concord, there was a toxic positivity when it came to that game, and because of that, there was a lot of things missing, like tutorials to try to show you how to play the game, like practice rings, and just showing you how to play the game, kind of like what Marvel Rivals does, where it kind of like gives you hints here and there of how to play the game, like if you're new to the game. Like Concord didn't have any of that. You had to learn that all on your own, and they thought like, oh yeah, that was a good way to do it. Yeah, it kind of was a turnoff for a lot of people. And not to mention that the art style was just butt ugly. It was just bad. It was just really, really bad. The gameplay was really fun. It was a hero shooter. Like it wasn't anything special. It was just fun. But yeah, there was a lot of toxic positivity, and we're starting to see that a lot of the multiplayer games that were out there, either the developers didn't want to work on them, and so when they had the chance to not work on them anymore, they were like, we're not gonna do this, or they were just really bad, or they were just concepts that never went anywhere, like the Spider-Man multiplayer game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and yeah, remember, you're pretty good.